enough. So take it easy. It's never enough. It's never enough. Around my way, ain't no such thing as a one-hitter quitter. Guaranteed to hit today, shit'll get your sound even litter. So come hit a couple of blunts with us and pass it to the jiggity. J-Rockin', and I'ma pass it to my good dick. We puff. One hit's never enough. We took 105 hits of the bomb smoke just to let you know that we from Lompoc. So come smoke with us, oh, come smoke with us. Puff, 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 puff. Take another puff, then you pass. But don't worry if you pass. Enough stuff, it's a little grass.
Hi, welcome to the third episode of CannaVision with Joe Cannabis. This is cannabis news. In the city of Lompoc elections, incumbent councilman in District 2, Victor Vega, came to a landslide victory over challenger Shirley Sherman. Victor Vega came away with 65.56% of the voters supported him. In District 3, incumbent councilman Dirk Starbuck came to a victory over challenger Robert Cuthbert when Dirk Starbuck received 58.84% over his challenger Robert Cuthbert. Both Victor Vega and Dirk Starbuck will retain their seats on the Lompoc City Council and will be there for an additional 4 years before the end of their term. For the mayor's race, currently we have not had a certified result yet. However, currently, as of today, Councilwoman Janelle Osborne seems poised to win the mayorship for the city of Lompoc. She currently leads Councilman Jim Mosby by just over 300 votes. So far, Janelle Osborne has received 4,905 votes to Jim Mosby's 4,599 votes. It is a 3% margin difference. In other election news, the measures that came before Lompoc and other cities included cannabis taxes. In Lompoc, Measure D was presented to voters, which would tax cannabis at retail of 6%, a cultivation of 1%, nursery at 1%, micro businesses at 6%, and a flat fee for manufacturing and production. Businesses that made over $2 million net sales would pay a flat fee of $30,000, while businesses seeing under $2 million in net sales would pay a flat fee of $15,000 per year. Measure D passed with 75% in Lompoc. In other cannabis tax voter decisions, the city of Solvang had a cannabis tax up. That was Measure F. And Measure F passed with a landslide in the city of Solvang. 2,121 people voted yes, or 81.05% of the vote. In Goleta, the cannabis tax was also on the ballot, known as Measure Z. Measure Z passed overwhelmingly in the city of Goleta with 82.21% of the vote. In June, Measure T passed in Santa Barbara County with 75.83% of the vote. And since then, the county of Santa Barbara has just released days ago that they have now collected $1.8 million in cannabis tax revenue. Also projected big for cannabis revenue this year was the entire state of California. The state of California was projected to bring in $185 million in revenue. So far, those projections have been less than what was anticipated, and that can be contributed with the fact that the cannabis market is not fully online yet. There are several businesses that are still waiting in the application process and have not come online to contribute or be taxed and to contribute into the tax revenue that has been collected. However, of the $185 million that was projected so far, the state has collected $135 million in tax revenue. The city of Lompoc recently updated its current number of cannabis applications which it has received here in the city. And so far, According to Stacy Haddon, city clerk of Lompoc, the city of Lompoc is currently received 26 commercial cannabis applications that have been turned into the city. Each of those applications brings a minimum of $11,900 for the application fee and $1,200 for each employee to undergo the live scan services that are associated with the application process. So each company is bringing a minimum of $13,000 to city coffers with each application. So far, with 26 applications, that brings that number to just over $300,000, which the city has collected in application fees. March 1st of this year, the city of Lompoc began to accept commercial applications for commercial cannabis businesses, which include dispensaries, storefront retails, delivery services, laboratories, medical and recreational marijuana, cultivation, nurseries, laboratory testing, and so forth. Of those, again, the city has received 26 commercial cannabis applications, and as of today's date, November 19th, 2018, the city has issued 6 local permits. The Bureau of Cannabis Control, one of California's main cannabis licensing authorities, has announced a deadline to receive temporary state licenses. The Medical and Adult Use Cannabis Regulation and Safety Act contains a sunset clause for temporary license applications, which is BPC code 26050.1. This means that the 3 state cannabis authorities cannot issue or extend temporary licenses after December 31st, 2018. Active temporary license will remain in effect until their expiration date. This is a problem for cannabis operators here in Lompoc. With 26 applications being received in the city of Lompoc and only 6 of those being approved so far, we have 20 businesses that are currently on pace to not meet this deadline. What this means for businesses is that they will not be able to apply for a temporary state license. And the difference between a temporary state license and an annual licensing is vastly different. Companies have a much more higher success rate of applying for a temporary license with less things to have to apply for, less time to be invested, less money to be invested, and less scrutiny. Because the sunset clause is active, these companies are now racing to receive their temporary license, because once you receive a temporary license, it's going to help you in the annual licensing process. So with the current conundrum of the BCC issuing this deadline to cannabis businesses and applicants, they are now in a rush to receive local temporary permits in order for them to apply for their state permit in Sacramento. A cannabis business is unable to apply for a state license, whether it's an annual license or a state temporary license, without local approval. And this is going to be a problem for many jurisdictions, cities, and counties who currently have businesses that are in the process of receiving a local license. So we are looking to improve upon this and to come up with solutions for how some of these businesses may be able to meet this deadline for the BCC. Tomorrow, on Tuesday, November 20th, 2018, the Lompoc Valley Cannabis Association will be speaking at the Lompoc City Council meeting in order to address issues related to the licensing process locally here in the city of Lompoc. As mentioned in our other story, the BCC has set a deadline of December 31st, 2018 to receive temporary state licenses. There are currently 26 applications for commercial cannabis activity in the city of Lompoc. Only 6 of those applications have been approved at the local level, meaning only 6 of the 26 businesses can now apply for a state permit that is temporary. Annual licensing will begin sometime in 2019. However, at this time, it is unknown when those licenses will be issued, when the application process will begin, or how long the state annual licensing program will last. Due to the high number of businesses that are coming in here and investing in the city of Lompoc, filling empty buildings, providing money to coffers to provide for the funding of this program here in Lompoc, many business owners and applicants are concerned that they will not make the December 31st deadline set by the Bureau of Cannabis Control and other licensing authorities. So on Tuesday, the Lompoc Valley Cannabis Association President John DeFrill will be presenting to the Lompoc City Council a proposal which will include an expedited process for those companies which have applied for a local permit and are waiting last approval. We believe that if these companies are in the final stages and with this deadline ahead of them, that the city of Lompoc should issue a letter in good faith that these companies who have gone through SCI consultant phase to be giving a letter which calls for local approval. This letter would allow these companies to then go forward and apply for their state licenses before the deadline set by the cannabis authorities. However, this would not grant permission for the company to open locally in the city of Lompoc. In fact, the only thing it will allow these companies to do is to apply for their state license. The Lompoc Valley Cannabis Association, noting that the city has now received over $300,000 in cannabis application fees. We believe that some of that money should be set aside and that a cannabis manager should be put in place at City Hall. The purpose of installing a cannabis manager will be to open up better dialogue and communication with the 26 applicants that are awaiting their process to be completed or are waiting for further updates. We believe that a cannabis manager will allow for these companies to have open dialogue of communication, to see more communication between the city and the applicants, to move through the process quicker than what it is. A manager would also be in charge of making sure that an application doesn't sit on a desk for too long and that there is accountability for the process and for the funds that have been allocated. This is an important process here in Lompoc. The Lompoc Valley Cannabis Association believes that currently the expedited process of these local permits and to move forward to opening businesses here in Lompoc is of the utmost importance. This industry will provide jobs, it will provide revenue for the city and improve the economy. And at this point in time, we believe that there is nothing more important in the city of Lompoc than to collect needed revenue and create jobs. So we will be encouraging the city council to move forward with an expedited process and encourage them to install a cannabis manager for all future items related to the process. We're going to be bringing you a new segment today in which we're going to be talking about the different forms of cannabis use and how consumption and the accessories that are used to use cannabis. I am joined in studio today by my partner, Jacob Garcia. Hi, Jacob, and thanks for joining me for this segment. So I have an image that I'd like to share with our viewers. And in this image, what you'll see is a bong that has an Ynez attached to it. An Ynez is plugged into an outlet and it provides a heated source to the bong for the use of concentrated cannabis products. And the Ynez uses a digital thermometer which will leave the temperature set at a certain temperature. Also in this photograph, you will see a torch gun, you will see papers, a dabbing nail, a grinder, pipes, and other rolling materials. So Jacob, this is some of the products that are used for smoking cannabis, which is probably the most common form of cannabis use. What are some of the highlights of some of these products that we're showing the people?
Well, interestingly enough, the water pipe, a bong itself, has actually been used throughout history, all the way back to the ancient Sumerians. They would smoke opiate plants through a water pipe, and they would ingest orally, and your drug would then break the blood-brain barrier much quicker. When you smoke, you feel the intensity of the effects much quicker than you would orally ingesting, eating, or even using any other form of substances. Smoking is the quickest way to get your full effects of your cannabis into your system as quickly as 15 minutes.
So in order to use some of these products, like the bong, for example, the bong is versatile. It can be used, you can place an e-nail on it or some other type of nail which you manually heat with a torch, or you could put a bowl on it to smoke the cannabis product flower itself. Mm-hmm. Other common uses for smoking involve rolling cigarettes, which are known as joints, or using hemp wraps or tobacco leaf wraps, which are considered to be blunts. People then use a grinder or some type of material to break down the cannabis into small form, and then to place it inside of the paper and roll it and then light it and smoke it. For a bong, obviously, as you mentioned, like a water bong, you would put water inside of the product. And the water acts as a filter as you light the cannabis product, whether that be a concentrated product or flower form. You will then light it, and as you use the bong and suck the air through, the smoke will go through the water filter and up into the cavity of the bong and into your lungs for consumption. Many people like using bongs because it delivers a quick response with just a small amount of product, whereas someone who may roll a joint or a blunt will use a lot more product and get the same results. So it's really just a matter of choice. Other choices include small pipes and similar featured items that they have. There's so many different things.
So many different. I myself, I like to use smoking is the form that I consume in the most. And one of the little tips and tricks that I like to suggest to people is I don't actually use water in my bongs. I use vegetable glycerin to keep it cleaner, so that way I can just rinse out my glass. What it does essentially is the carcinogens and all of the ashes and the material that would be left in the water that sticks around the glass is now easier to clean because it is separated from the walls of the glass. It's actually, the vegetable glycerin is covering it in a bubble, and it's holding it it's holding itself together and making all the nasty, gross resin stick together versus on your glass and you having to clean it.
In this next image that we have, you can see that we have different concentrated cannabis products here. There is a green envelope there which has snap and pull concentrated products. That is SCI lab tested material there. Next to it, you'll see a couple different forms of vaporized pen. These include putting cartridges on top of a battery pack of the vaping pen. You twist that on, and that is a more pure form of cannabis concentrated, often known as distillates. These distillates are in a liquid type form, which then burn on coils that a battery heats up, and then that offers the oil to be burned and then sucked through the machine and into your lungs. This is a product which is gaining a lot of popularity in the state of California and in the cannabis culture because it's easy, it is more discreet, and it doesn't give a lingering smell that smoking cannabis plants would do. Also, you're not burning plant material into your lungs, so this is considered a cleaner form. Also in this photograph, you'll see a syringe on the far left side of the screen, and in the side of that syringe is live resin, which is in a needleless syringe, I should say, and it's just used there to store the product and squeeze it out through a needleless tip. You'll also see in a glass jar a sauce, and also in a small black and clear cartridge there for a stizzy cartridge, which is another type of pen. These are just some various forms of smoking cannabis with an item like the e-nail or using these vaping pens. Jacob, these have gained a lot of popularity over the years, and this is
rightfully so.
actually probably one of the most popular forms of smoking now. Why is that?
I would argue the three main reasons. Overall, you're not burning your plant material if you're using it for dry herb.
Right.
What you're doing is the vaporizer's whole purpose is to eliminate the carcinogens for the most part, scales it down in a sense. Instead of smoking, you are now burning the chemical composition, the THC, the CBD, all the cannabinoids are being burnt off at a level of heat which doesn't burn the plant material. So it's much smoother for someone like me who has issues with lungs and breathing.
Right, and so this form, when you smoke it, it's not like, taking a bong hit or smoking a joint. You're going to receive
Absolutely not.
a much higher concentrated form of cannabis so that you have to actually smoke less to get higher.
The best way to smoke, or in any way, shape, or form, in any capacity, is with a vaporizer, a good, clean vaporizer from a company that uses tested products. A clean system is what you want.
Right. You are taking that into your body. So this next image is going to deal with another form of consumption, and that is edibles and oral solutions. In this image, what you see is a packaged item of some type of gummy edible. These gummies usually range from a small amount of milligrams per piece, and the way that California has now decided to package things must be in a compliant packaging, which is child-proof, and edibles now have a maximum of 100 milligrams per package. Previously, under older laws that governed California cannabis, there was no limit on the number of milligrams that could go into an edible. So in this photograph, you see some gummies, you see a Rice Krispie treat, and you see a blue bottle with a dripper. Inside of that blue bottle is pure CBD liquid form that you actually just use the dripper and put it in your mouth and swallow it. And the CBD will be coming into contact rather quickly. You could feel the difference. It gives you a relaxing mood, helps you to go to sleep, deals with pain. And edibles themselves, what they do is they are consumed obviously orally, and you swallow them, and what happens is your stomach processes the edible and it processes it to the liver. The liver works out its various functions of cleaning and so forth, and the THC is then dispersed into the blood system. Now what happens in many cases is that edibles can sneak up on you, and some people consume more than they realize they have. Jacob, edibles, we've seen a lot of variety of edibles come out here. New California regulations are now putting a limit on the number of milligrams that can go into an edible, the type of packaging that it could have. Well, but overall, why would someone want to use an edible versus smoking or vaping?
Well, what I would argue is edibles are the safest way to consume cannabis in terms of your health. No matter what, if you ingest something orally, as far as smoking is concerned, it will degrade your lungs over time. That is a proven fact. Smoking does harm your body. Now, edibles is a different delivery system, and the reason why a lot of people have an issue with edibles is they aren't educated on what edibles really are. Edibles, the way they work is they actually bypass the liver, they don't bypass the liver. They get broken down in the liver, where smoking bypasses the liver and breaks into the blood-brain barrier.
Through the lungs, right.
Through the lungs. edibles have to go through the liver, and they're breaking down into hydroxy-11 THC, which is from delta-9 to hydroxy-11, which is 2 different types of THC. So you're feeling much more intense effects for much longer because it's being broken down over time instead of all in one period.
And a lot of people, what they do is they don't realize they'll see an edible and they'll think, hey, you know, this is a 2-inch size piece of candy here.
Absolutely not.
And they don't realize the amount of cannabis that is actually inside of that edible. And that's why for people that are not familiar with edibles, you should start off always with a small piece, and you wait an hour. And if you feel nothing, take another small piece, wait another hour.
Something I'd like to touch on that
Sure.
subject is actually tolerance is important to understand, and something I advocate and argue for is to understand your own tolerance. And the best way to do that, or to start off, if you're a new cannabis user, start off with smoking. Please do not start off with edibles. You will become very uncomfortable because you don't understand milligram dosage. Having too much THC in your system when your body is not accumulated to it is a very uncomfortable experience for many. If you were going to use cannabis, you need to understand how to dose cannabis yourself.
In general, you want to start off with a low dosage. You want to monitor how you feel, and you want to wait a certain amount of time before you consume more. You don't know how powerful that edible is going to be or how your body is going to react. However, the good thing about that is if you do eat too much, you're not going to die. No matter how you feel, it is a psychoactive component. It causes a little bit of paranoia. You may feel dehydrated. Drink plenty of water. Go to a corner of your room and just wait it out. And take it as a lesson not to eat so much edibles.
Edibles, a good way to lower the intensity of your edibles is actually to consume more CBD.
Oh yeah, very good. CBD ratio with THC is something certainly that people want to look into. If you have too much THC, it's going to cause paranoia, and the CBD will allow you to relax and bring those levels down. So that's a very good point that you brought up. In this final image that I would like to share with our viewers, this is the final form that we're going to be showing, and this is a topical use. And you'll see there 2 different forms of topicals. One of them is a cream that you can see on my hand there, which you rub into any area on your body you have pain with. You directly rub it onto the area you feel the pain. Now, what's good about topicals is persons that may want to use cannabis but are afraid that they may get into some trouble with their work or getting a false or dirty drug test for positive for cannabis, topicals is the direction that you want to go. A topical is applied directly onto the skin where you have pain. You rub it in and it sinks into the skin and it reduces or eliminates the pain that the topical has been applied to. The great news about this is that topicals do not enter the bloodstream at any point in time, and so therefore your body does not become high. You do not experience the psychoactive effects, and it doesn't enter your bloodstream, so therefore you cannot give a positive test. Jacob, who is the best candidates for these type of cannabis products, and what are they best used for?
Anyone who's gone through anything similar to I have, any cancer patient, anyone dealing with any scars or any actual physical trauma will love topicals in general. Topicals should be used in almost daily basis for people who are dealing with cancer, people who are dealing with certain extremities. Maybe you have arthritis. You would just rub the topical, the lotion essentially, into your skin. And what it does is, since it's transdermal, it doesn't break your blood-brain barrier. Your cells are taking the cannabinoids and they're essentially using it to help the healing process happen faster without you feeling any psychoactive effects, because it's not being introduced into your body. It's not breaking the blood-brain barrier. So you're essentially getting medical benefits without any of the hindrance of feeling any psychoactive effects.
True that. These are not all the forms of cannabis use. These are just some of the most popular forms of cannabis use. So You are able to smoke it, you are able to vape it, you are able to use edibles and eat it, or apply it onto your skin as a topical form. There certainly is many other types of forms, but again, these are the most popular ones. Look into different forms available and continue to educate yourself regarding these. And that's about it, I would say, for cannabis use. So keep smoking, keep dabbing, keep using those topicals, and of course you could use these multiple forms. So thanks, Jacob. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome, Joe. And thank you, viewers.
Hi, welcome to Tasty CannaCooking with Elizabeth. And today we're going to be working with canna butter. We'll be making some mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving. We'll need about 12 gold potatoes, Yukon gold potatoes, and they could be medium-sized potatoes. And we'll also need 2 sticks of butter, about half a cup, infused, of course. And we'll need 2 tablespoons of chives, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, half a cup of heavy cream, and 3/4 cup of whole milk. Okay, so let's get started. We'll peel the potatoes first. Okay, so we're going to peel the potatoes. So you're going to want to peel all the potatoes, or you could keep the skin on. It depends how you like it. Okay, now that they're all peeled, we're just going to cut them in cube pieces, like so, about an inch or so, like that, just so they could cook faster. Okay, now we're going to give this a quick rinse. That way they'll be more creamier and fluffier, and they won't be so sticky. So we'll put these and we'll rinse them off. Okay, so now after you rinse them off, what you're going to do, we're going to add them to a pan. These will boil for half an hour or so. So we'll come back and check on this in half an hour, okay? Okay, so the potatoes are ready. If you pierce it, the potatoes should, the knife should go right through it. And so it's ready. We'll drain these out. And then we'll mash them. Okay, so now we're going to be dicing the garlic in really small pieces. So we're going to go ahead and take off the peel off these. Okay, so you're going to dice this into really small pieces. Now again, you can put as much garlic as you want in here. I'm putting 3 cloves. Okay, so, and we're just going to dice them up again. Give them a good dice. You don't want to get a big chunk of garlic in your mashed potatoes. So now the next step is we're going to heat up the milk. And we're going to heat up the cream and the garlic. We're going to bring it up to a simmer. And then we'll add the potatoes. Let's get to it. Okay, so we're going to add the heavy cream and the whole milk into this. Okay. Garlic. Okay, give it a stir. Now you have to stir this or else it sticks. So until there's a simmer. Okay. So on this other pan, we're going to put the potatoes back in here just so we can cook off the water. So we'll add the potatoes in here. Okay, if you stir this, don't forget about your milk. Okay, it's almost there. Okay, and you want to use warm milk and room temperature butter. The consistency is just better and creamy and when it's warm. It'll just change if it's cold. It'll change everything. So make sure it's warm. That's what makes it nice and fluffy and creamy. And it's what you want in mashed potatoes. Now you'll want to mash these up before you add the milk to it. Alright, but then they're almost done. And the milk is almost finished too. Okay, the milk is simmering, so we'll turn this off and take it off the heat. Okay, so that is ready to be mixed in with the mashed potatoes. So here we have the mashed potatoes, and we're going to mash them up. Now you could use whatever you have on hand. I'm using a potato smasher. You can use whatever you want. Okay, so now we'll add our cream. Okay, and now in here we'll also stir in our butter, room temperature. So put that in there too. Okay, so just mix that up, and then with a mixer, if you have a mixer, we'll mix this right up. Ooh, but they're nice and fluffy. Add as much salt or as little bit of salt as you want, but it's up to you. Now just cut up our chives. Make it nice for the eyes. So we'll cut this up. Now we'll cut the chives. You'll want to cut them really small, okay? And then this is what you get. Creamy mashed potatoes that are infused and that will help you out for Thanksgiving. Thank you for watching. And for the next episode, we'll be working on some Christmas drinks, some holiday drinks. Stay tuned.
Hi, my name is Jacob, and I'm here with the Educational Grow Light segment. I'm your host, and today I'd like to introduce to you THC, CBD, cannabinoids, and their importance with the cannabis plant. So let's just jump right into it. THC is the first cannabinoid we're going to talk about. THC is the sole chemical responsible for you feeling a psychoactive effect. A psychoactive effect is what you would call a high, necessarily. THC is the factor that controls the intensity, how intense a high someone might have. Let's get into CBD now. CBD is unique because it's actually produced by the human body naturally. It's actually a natural formed painkiller produced in our body by breastfeeding mothers. And what's unique about CBD is it's attributed to the range of relaxed psychoactive effects you would feel from cannabis. Now, CBD itself will not give you the psychoactive effects one might feel from THC. CBD is a muscle relaxant, it purely relaxes, and it doesn't give you that intense high. It's much like a painkiller in a sense. Right here, as you can see, we have a CBD extract primarily used for someone maybe in back pain with muscle and joint pains. This is a great thing to have if you have any joint or muscle pains. Now, I talked about a cannabinoid. What exactly is a cannabinoid? Well, a cannabinoid is a class of diverse chemical compounds that acts on your endocannabinoid system. Basically, what that means is it acts a lot like serotonin, the reward chemical in your brain responsible for pleasure. Now, the way this works is it connects to little receptors on your brain, and it tells your body to basically relax and calm down. It tells your muscles to stop contracting so much and relax and loosen up. These chemicals are all found in the cannabis plant. There are over 200 cannabinoids in the cannabis plant. The ones we're focused on today are THC and CBD. So now I want to talk to you a little bit about terpenes. Now, what are terpenes, how they're important, how they affect the cannabis plant, how THC, CBD, and terpenes come together to form this thing that we know that is cannabis. Terpenes are live evaporating endocarbon chains. Now, you can think of them as an analogy, almost like shaking a bottle of soda. Your sense of smell works in a similar way. When those bubbles all rush towards the top and they're all trying to expose themselves, your sense of smell and terpenes work in a very similar way. Terpenes are actually sensed by the olfactory nerve right here in your nose, and that's your sense of smell is actually attributed a lot towards your emotional state. That's why with lavender you feel much more relaxed. Now, how does this pertain to the cannabis plant? Well, depending on the terpene profile, the amount of THC and the amount of CBD can give you the huge range of effects possible with the cannabis plant. Now, I'd like to take a step back for a minute and talk about, well, we've talked about THC, we've talked about CBD, we've talked about how they're cannabinoids, we've talked about terpenes. Now, where the heck is all this on the plant? Well, in the cannabis plant, you'll see these tiny sparkles. Those sparkles actually are small pin-like glands called trichomes. Trichomes are these little white ball-like glands on the cannabis plant that house everything that the cannabis plant essentially is. It houses the terpenes, it houses the cannabinoids, THC and CBD, and it houses flavonoids, which we won't be talking about today. Trichomes are important because a healthy trichome system determines whether or not you can have a good medical effect from your plant. Think of trichomes a lot like fruit. When they're overripe, it's not healthy to consume. When you have your trichomes all a milky, white, filled-in color, that's when you know that you are ready to harvest, and you know that they are full of THC, CBD, and other cannabinoids, as well as your terpene profile. You can think of your endocannabinoids as the intensity of the effects that you feel, and your terpenes are how you feel it. Think of it much like a engine to a car. THC and CBD are the engine to your car, and terpenes are your steering wheel. That's where you're gonna go. That's your GPS, your steering wheel, however you want to phrase it. Trichomes are where all of it is found in these little pin-like glands. And hopefully you've learned something today about the cannabis plant. Maybe you've learned something new as a grower, a good time to harvest, the importance of CBD and THC. And in conclusion, light on.
Thank you. Welcome to the third installment of Joints with Joe. I'm Joe Cannabis, and I'm here today with our CannaVision with Joe Cannabis TV crew. With me today is Jacob Garcia, Elizabeth Morales,
Hi.
and Zachary Tobias. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the segment, and thank you for coming today.
Okay.
All right.
So basically, everybody watches us. I've seen a couple of our episodes now and have gotten to know some of you. Our audience really hasn't gotten to see much of you, Zach. So it'll be nice to for you to introduce yourself to the fans and the people that watch this show and are cannabis enthusiasts. So, Zach, you are our technical producer for this show. Give us a little bit of history about yourself, your relation with cannabis, and why you're here.
My name's Zach. I'm 28 years old. I enjoy long walks on the beach, and I'm the technical producer, like Joe said. I'm a graduate from Hancock from the film department, and I use that to bring the magic here. I've been using cannabis since I was 14. I've been using it medically ever since I got discharged from the military for reasons that I'd rather not get into.
Thank you for your service.
No. And I'm just happy to be here. You know.
Great. And Elizabeth, so you run our cooking segment for the show, Tasty, CannaCooking with Elizabeth, and you got involved with our show right at the beginning here. You volunteered for it. Tell us what your relation is with cannabis, how it is in your daily life. Give us a little something about yourself and what you do and what you're looking forward to.
Well, yes, my name's Elizabeth, and I use cannabis on a daily basis because I have anxiety, and it really helps me and with my daily life. And I use it through cooking, and I find that if I find the right dose, it really helps me. So I find whatever I feel comfortable with, and then I go from there. So I cook a lot of different things, and I really enjoy it. So, and I like feeling good, and I like other people feeling good. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay, great. Well, I know that the people that are watching our show are appreciative of some of the things that you're showing them how to do in the kitchen. And what do we got? What can we look forward to for our Christmas episode that's going to be coming up next month?
Well, for the holiday season, I was thinking of holiday drinks like eggnog and so on. So we'll stay tuned. It'll be good.
Infused
Yes.
drinks.
Yes.
All right. Well, that sounds like it's going to be fun. Jacob, you run our Grow Light, our educational Grow Light segment. You have been brought on. You've been really active with the Lompoc Valley Cannabis Coalition, the Cannabis Association. You've been involved with our Flower Festival events, the TV show since the beginning, and you're doing a lot of stuff here in the cannabis community. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what brought you here, and what your relationship is with cannabis.
Honestly, circumstances brought me here. At a young age, at 17, my goal was to actually go into the military, and I was going to go into the Navy and focus on furthering and pursuing a career with computer and computer science. And what ended up happening is while I was going through MEPS, I was diagnosed with cancer, and circumstances led me to seek out cannabis as a valid pain management treatment, and it helped a lot because I actually got addicted to the opiates that my doctor was giving me, and it was a terrible experience. Cannabis shined a light for me, a medicine that I can use that it doesn't hinder me through my daily lives. Right here you can see this scar on my neck. When I was taking opiates, when I was going through withdrawals, one of the things that I would do a lot is I would actually scratch my scar and my scar tissue, and very uncomfortable. Overall, just a terrible experience. Cannabis really did help break out of this terrible experience, and it helped me regain my life back and my passion and my goals. So now I advocate for cannabis use, legal, regulated cannabis use, and I advocate for education and safety. When I first came into cannabis, I really didn't understand the safety behind it, behind having a clean, tested, quality medicine. And one experience after another led me to become an advocate.
That's great. I'm really happy that you were able to find success with cannabis products. You've been in recovery now since your cancer diagnosis some years back, and we're really happy to have you on the show. So some of the things that I want to talk about are some of the future things that we're going to be doing on this show. We've barely touched the surface regarding cannabis use and cannabis in culture and so forth. We've visited so far a cannabis cultivation site. We have, as Elizabeth has shown us, different forms of cooking with cannabis, from infusing simple things such as butter and olive oil to making something as simple as a cookie. And for this Thanksgiving episode, Elizabeth has made infused mashed potatoes, and she's already told us that we can look forward to infused drinks coming up in December. So some of the things that we would like to ask our viewers at home is to go ahead and email us at CannaVisionWithJoeCannabis@gmail.com and let us know what type of things that you'd like to see Elizabeth do in the kitchen, that on recipes that you would like to see, different ideas for the cooking segments. Go ahead and send those emails to us. We would love to review those and get a viewer's opinion on what we should be focusing on next. With the educational grow light, we're going to continue to talk about the education of cannabis. It's very important. There's never enough. Certainly none of us know everything about cannabis. We are all just people that are along the track and learning as we go as well. We stand for advocation of cannabis and to spread educational awareness, because we believe in the miracle of cannabis. We believe that it is a life-saving substance, that it is something that is very nourishing, that is good for you. Whether you use it for recreational or medicinal purposes, cannabis is nutritional and it is good for you, and there is benefits that you will receive no matter what use you use for it. Cannabis is used for a wide range of things, from pain management to anxiety, to just help you get through the day, and just to relax in some cases. And some people just use it as a vice, just like you would maybe come home and have a nice mixed drink after you get off work. Some people just want to enjoy that relaxing feeling of bliss from cannabis use. Zach, you work in the background mostly for the television show. You're responsible basically for doing a lot of our editing on the show. You put together all our images. You line up everything for us to make us look good on camera. What would you like to see come forward with our show? Do you have any more ideas on your side of the camera for what we could do to better improve our graphics, better improve things? I know that you wanted to start production meetings up and do other things. So just kind of curious, from the production side behind the camera, some of the ideas that you have or visions that you see for our television show.
Well, way to put me on the spot there, Joe. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I really don't. I'm just like along for the ride.
Okay.
You know, man.
All right. Well, we're going to have to get those production meetings going so we can start those thought bubbles.
I guess so, yeah.
All right. Elizabeth, what do you see going forward with your segment in the show? How do you want to interact more with the viewers at home? Obviously, I think that you're committed more to just cooking and presenting that. There's something more behind it. We're going to talk about in this episode some of the different types of use for cannabis, from smoking, vaping, topicals, edibles, and so forth. What are some other things that we could present to the audience, and how can we spice up our segment and make it more interesting?
Well, I was actually thinking of ideas, and I wanted to. We haven't been really saying the dosage with each of the things that I'm making, so I wanted to get more into that. How it could help you. How it can, that you can use indica or sativa or a mix, depending on what you want to use it for. So I want to get a little bit more on how to use the flower, so you could use it on your daily life with whatever you feel necessary, whether it's cancer or diabetes or topicals, however it is. I would like to show you and to learn with you, because I'm not an expert, so I would like to learn with you. So yes, I would like your feedback. I would like if there's anything that you would like me to do or teach you, I am willing. And so I think we could do a lot, and we could learn a lot together.
Culturally, we haven't touched a lot of subjects-wise here, but culturally, cannabis has been in this county underground for quite some time. There is a long history of growers. This county is #1 in cannabis permits issued in the state of California, beating out Humboldt County and the Emerald Triangle. The culture has been here. People have been growing for decades here. It's just not something that's been talked about. Now that we have legalization and regulation happening, it's come to the forefront of conversation. It's been in front of our face for the past 2 years in discussions at City Hall, in the newspapers, on the news, in magazines, on social media. It's everywhere. There's a lot of things that we can talk about and do, so I'm really hopeful and looking forward to our production meetings, coming up with more ideas to present for this show. And we want to hear from you, the audience. So please, if you have any ideas, you have anything that you would like us to cover, to talk about, please send us an email at CannaVisionWithJoeCannabis@gmail.com. I want to thank everybody today for coming and joining me in this segment. I'm really excited for what we're doing, and this is a turning of a new page in Lompoc. Let's continue to move forward and present something great. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next month. So take another hit. One hit's never enough. 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 Around my way, ain't no such thing as a one-hitter quitter. Guaranteed to hit today's shit'll get your sound even litter. So come hit a couple of blunts with us and pass it to the jiggity jiggity jigga DJ Rockin', and I'ma pass it to my skinga dick. We puff, we puff. One hit's never enough. We took 105 hits of the bomb smoke just to let you know that we from Lompoc. So come smoke with us, oh, come smoke with us. Puff, 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 puff. Take another puff. Then you pass. But don't worry if you pass. Enough stuff. It's a lad. Little grass.